Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video I'm going to take a look at a new motherboard from MSI which looks deceptively like a board which already exists. But there is a reason for this existing, and that is because it's a lot cheaper. Now this is the MSI B850 Tomahawk WiFi. Notice I didn't say the max word or anything else. This is basically a revision of the Tomahawk board on the B850 platform, which is designed to be a little bit more cost effective for people that don't want as many features as were on the Max board, but still want to have the Tomahawk legendary strength, reliability, and all that kind of good stuff. So in today's video, this is an unboxing. We'll go through, give an explanation of what differences there are between this board and the Max board, the potential savings that can be had, what this can and can't do, and then you can decide whether or not this is going to be suitable for your next PC build. So first of all, we'll start off with the packaging as we tend to. So this is the B850 Tomahawk WiFi. This is Ryzen 9000 series compatible straight out of the box. So from the very first BIOS edition, so if you're thinking of getting a 9000 series processor and a little bit concerned about having to do a BIOS update, which you really shouldn't be. We've already done a BIOS update video for this particular board. So if you are thinking of getting this, and if you've maybe bought this and there's a newer Ryzen 9000 series processor out and you're not too sure how to get it set up to make sure it's compatible, there is a video which will be linked in the video description. So this is on the B850 chipset from AMD. Also supports PCI Express Gen 5, so that is for the graphics card, and also the NVMe. Also, it's AI PC ready. Oh dear. Yeah, and it has full overclocking support and also has B-clock overclocking support. So there's actually hardware switches on the board that you can enable B-clock overclocking should you wish to. Realistically, I think most people won't be interested in that. They'll just want to use the board as it is and do the usual tweaks that we do, such as the curve optimizer, that kind of thing. But potentially, if you want to give it a little bit more juice, then it is possible. And also, unusually, this is part of MSI's new range, which actually has a 64 megabyte BIOS. So it has a larger BIOS, which will enable more things actually in the BIOS. It's got a really nice look inside the BIOS. We will be doing a separate video on this, going through the BIOS tour and some of the new features within that. So if you want to see that, check the links below. On the back of the box, it goes over some of the key features. So it's got a 14 dual rail power system. You've also got Lightning Gen 5, as we've already mentioned, extended heat sinks for the VRM and also the M.2 and the chipset itself. We've also got Wi-Fi 7 integrated and Bluetooth 5.4. Also has that really cool easy PCI Express release mechanism. It also has the easy M.2 Shield Frozzer 2 for the top slot, and it has 3 M.2 connectors and also incorporates 5 gigabit LAN. When it comes to what is included in the box, obviously motherboard itself, which we'll take a closer look at shortly. In terms of accessories, so you get a Wi-Fi 7 antenna with the push fit connections, making installation much easier, much nicer than those screw-on ones. You also get a Easy Connect connection. So this connector is part of MSI's kind of new design. So some of their peripherals, coolers, etc. come with the Easy Connect. So this effectively combines a PWM header, an addressable RGB header, all in one connection. There is actually something else on there as well. Oh, a USB as well. So for data transfer. So if you're getting something with maybe like an LCD screen from the MSI range, you can just plug in one single connector and it kind of splits off into all the others. If you run out of RGB ports or PWM slots, then yeah, you can plug that in to give you an additional one of each. Also included when it comes to M.2s, so you've got the easy removable M.2 release clip there, which is like a little push toggle. So you just push it, rather than having to screw in your M.2 drives, you can just push them into position and flick the lever to remove them again. And to install that, there comes with the MSI hex key. That's actually also really useful. So if you are doing a new build, you need to use some of the motherboard pillars in different positions, you can use that, it's the same size. Also something which is included, but I'm not too sure if it's particularly useful, maybe for those lacking dexterity possibly. So this is a front panel connection extension. So you plug in one end into your motherboard in the usual position, and that gives you like a breakout box so you can connect up all of your connectors to the motherboard should you need to. I'm not too sure why they include it, but hey, it's nice to have it if you need it. Also included, there is a very lonely looking single SATA plug. So if you are looking at plugging in SATA drives, then you do get at least one cable. You get the usual stuff as well, so you get the quick installation guide, and also if you're in Europe, you get the European regulatory notice. There's also an included sticker sheet as well, so if you wish to adorn either your cables with identifications or you just want to stick MSI badges all over your stuff, then yeah, knock yourselves out. And last of all, if you potentially want to recoup some of your investment in your MSI products, you do have the MSI shoutout. So this basically is a program they run. So if you do a review on products, you send them a link to the review you've done, they verify it, and potentially you can get some sort of rebate via cash, PayPal, or possibly even just game vouchers, Steam vouchers, that sort of thing. It depends on the regions, but you can check it out from the links on the QR code. And finally, we'll take a look at the motherboard itself. And as you can see, it's quite a nice looking board. Generally, it's pretty much all blacked out other than the Tomahawk and MSI logos, which are in this kind of military fluorescent greeny yellow, which I'm not too keen on, if I'm completely honest with you. I would have much preferred those to have been in maybe a silver or a grey. I think that would have looked nicer, but anyway, it is what it is. Loads of heat sinks on this, pretty heavy board as well, 6-layer PCB. We've also got massive heatsink over the VRM, which is a 14 plus 2 plus 1, I believe. Also another heatsink over the top section as well. You've got the heatsink for your primary M.2 PCI Express Gen 5. You also got another one at the bottom there, so that is for the 2 lower M.2 ports. And you've got one over the heatsink as well. So yeah, pretty nice board. Got a little bit of weight to it as well, which is nice. Gives you the sense of some form of quality. At the top of the board, got 2 connections there, so in terms of power you can put in 2 of your EPS plugs, the 8-pin ones, so you can get a lot of juice to your latest and greatest processor should you wish to. Moving along from there, so we've got some fan connectors at the top, so you've got your CPU fan header, you've also got an AIO fan header, and also you have got your system fan 1 header, so all those in the nice places. Just across from there, you've got the first of your addressable ARGB headers, so 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB. Underneath that, yet another system fan header, so nice to have quite a few of those in one position. Underneath that, we've got the diagnostic D-LED, which are absolutely brilliant. I love these. They should be mandatory on all motherboards. So if you're getting a problem with your system with it booting on your first build, you may have your CPU LED, maybe your RAM light, VGA or boot. So it gives you an idea if there's a no boot situation, what the problem actually might be. And of course, if you can't fix the problem for yourself, feel free to head over to our Discord and we'll do our best to try and figure it out for you. Moving back across, so we've got our AM5 socket on there. Like we said, this is Ryzen 9000 series compatible out of the box for all processors which are available on the market as of November 2025, going into Christmas. So yeah, no problems there. Again, we have got the 64 megabyte BIOS on here, which actually makes me think that potentially they are forward looking for this. So maybe for the subsequent releases on the AM5 platform. Sometimes with older boards like the B850s, when newer processors came out, because the BIOS wasn't big enough, they had to trim parts out to make room for the new AGESA codes, etc., and for compatibility with processors. So maybe they're forward thinking a bit and increasing the BIOS size on here so you can keep all the functionality of your BIOS and also add features as time goes on, which I think is pretty cool. Moving across, we've got our 4 RAM slots. So this is where one of the first differences are for this particular board over the Max version. So this supports up to 8200 megatransfers per second RAM DDR in the 64 meg slots, so 256 gigs supported currently at the time of recording. The Max version goes up to 8400 megatransfers per second, so not really a great deal of difference there, so very slight difference on the DDR speeds there. You've got your 24-pin main power connector. Underneath that, you've got the Easy J Connect, or J Easy Con, whatever they want to call it. That is for the splitter, so that splits one plug into a single PWM, a single USB 2.0, and also a single ARGB. If you want to take advantage of that, you can do. Underneath that, we've got a USB Type-C front panel connector. And underneath that, we've got our easy release for the PCI Express, which is wonderful. If you've ever tried to take a graphics card out in one of the more cramped builds, it's always a pain to try and release it from the clasp there. You end up stabbing it with a screwdriver and potentially damaging stuff. With this, you don't have to do that. Just press it in and it's a toggle in and a toggle out. So it holds it in place for you, which is excellent. Just make sure you fasten your graphics card after you've inserted it. Underneath that, the B850 chipset with the heatsink over the top. And also there are 4 SATA ports included. Before we take a look at the I/O along the bottom section, we'll take a closer look at the PCI Express and also the M.2 slots, because again, this is where the differences lie between the Tomahawk Max and also the standard Tomahawk on the B850 chipset. So you can probably work out for yourself already. One of the key differences, 3 M.2s on this board, 4 M.2s on the Max version, which sounds like it's a big deal, but it actually isn't, because the 4th slot actually on the Max version shared with the bottom PCI Express slot, so it's kind of like a one or the other deal. Whereas with this, they've kind of taken that out of the equation, so basically you can plug everything you want to into this board and you won't lose any speeds or performance on any of the slots. So that makes life a little bit simpler. So in theory, this is the simpler board to get if you're a system builder, because people aren't going to have problems down the line if they start populating all the slots. Anyway, with all that said, so let's take a look at the M.2 slots. So on the top, we've got our primary slot with the quick release as well. So you just push that in on the side and that comes out. So nice and easy to release. It's a little bit on the small side. This is rated for PCI Express Gen 5. So I would have liked to have seen that a little bit thicker, but it should be pretty fine for most drives, to be fair with you. Also, you've got the Easy Connect in the box, so you can swap out the standard one in there. So this is the one with the latch. So you've just got a little plastic latch to secure your drives. If you want to, you can swap that out. That is entirely up to you. This one powered from the CPU, so PCI Express Gen 5 times 4, and also slower drives are supported also. Moving down to the bottom 2 slots, so if you remove this big heatsink, underneath there, you've got 2 M.2 slots, both PCI Express Gen 4 times 4, both of which are from the chipset itself. So that's fine. You can use all of them together. It isn't a problem at all. So in terms of M.2s, I think it's absolutely fine. I would have liked to see this particular heatsink a little bit larger. Of course, obviously, if you want to, you can swap out, and it's pretty easy to lock in place, which I do appreciate. Now let's take a look at the PCI Express slots. So PCI Express slot on the top, the graphics card one, is PCI Express Gen 5 times 16. Again, we've got the easy release as well, which is really nice. Moving down underneath that, so this slot here is PCI Express Gen 4 times 4. So it is wired for times 4, although it is a 16x sized slot. And at the very bottom there, PCI Express Gen 3 times 1. So for add-in cards, maybe a network card, a capture card, that sort of thing, it's going to be absolutely fine. And again, you can populate any of these ports at the same time, and there won't be any problems with like another slot being disabled, which is pretty cool. So let's move down now to the bottom section for our I/O. So here on this side, you've got the B clock adjustments. So you can put jumpers over those to change the base clock speeds or B clock speeds if you wanted to for overclocking purposes. Front panel connector over in this corner. Then next to that, you've also got a speaker connection and also a chassis intrusion, all that kind of stuff. Also, there is a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB. Next up, USB 3.0 front panel connector. Moving along, 2 USB 2.0 front panel connectors. Then you've got another pair of PWM ports. Then you've got another PCI Express connection for additional power should you need it. I don't think we've seen anyone having to need that for any devices at all as of yet. Be interesting to see what happens when that does actually start to become a thing. I can't imagine for any reason why it would be, but they've added it, so clearly at some point someone's thought it's a good idea, but I don't know why. Anyway, moving on, another 2 PWM ports at the bottom there. We've also got a chassis intrusion and a J-dash. So this is for their kind of diagnostic dashboard, which you can plug in. Then you've also got another ARGB, 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB, and there's a standard 12-volt RGB next to that one. Then you've got your front panel connection for your front panel audio solution. The audio solution on this is a Realtek, so it's an ALC 4080, which is pretty decent. Does all the surround sound stuff, all the usual stuff. So yeah, that's pretty good. Moving around to the I/O on the back. So we've got the 2 buttons on the end there. So you've got your CMOS reset, which is slightly raised, and also you've got your BIOS flashback button, which is slightly recessed, so you don't accidentally press it. You can kind of feel between the two, know which one's which. You've also got an HDMI output, so if you're using a AM5 processor with some form of integrated graphics, you can use that for up to 8K 60. Obviously, that is going to be dependent on the CPU you're using or APU you're using, depending on what outputs you can get on it. Then you've got some USB ports. So we've got some USB ports there, the red color coded ones, USB 10 gigabit per second, a type A and a type C. Next to that, for slightly slower transfers, you've got your USBs in blue. Those are 5 gigabit per second, 2 type A's. Then you've got a stack of 4 USB 2.0s, so great for things like keyboard, mouse, headset, microphone, etc. And next to that, you've got a red color coded port, so that means 10 gigabit per second, so that's a type A. And underneath that, you've got the fastest one on the back there, so that's USB Type-C. That is a 20 gigabit per second. At the top there, so you've got the Realtek 8126VG, I think it is, or VM, which is a 5 gigabit LAN connection, backwards compatible with 2.5 and 1 gigabit, and further down to 10100 should you need to. Then you've got your connectors there for the integrated Wi-Fi 7 and also Bluetooth 5.4. And then you've got some audio connections, so you've got a digital SpeedIF and also an audio in and a audio out. So overall, quite a nice board, pretty fully featured on there. For me personally, I would have liked to have seen maybe this PCI Express Gen 4 slot drop down to the bottom for larger capture cards. That is a very minor thing. Most people generally don't use those at all. So your graphics card is absolutely fine. Your primary M.2 is the fastest we can get on the market at the moment. So those are great. Having the 2 extra drives there and no issues with kind of bifurcation or anything being disabled if you plug things in. I think that is a sensible solution. And also you should find that this board is approximately somewhere in the region of £20 to £30 cheaper than the Tomahawk Max. So if you don't need that extra M.2, or potentially that extra PCI Express Gen 4x4 slot at the bottom of your motherboard, then I think this actually makes a really good choice. Other than that, it's very minor differences with the USB on the back, and also I think the Tomahawk Max actually has an additional USB 3.0 front panel connector. So you've got 4 for the front panel connectors. I think there's an additional one here. So yeah, if you've got a case which needs 4 USB Type-A front panel connectors, the Tomahawk Max is probably the way to go. But otherwise, I think for most people, this is the more sensible solution. In terms of the VRM, very, very similar setup, if not the same. I think it's a pretty great board. And obviously, I am somewhat of an MSI fanboy. I do tend to like MSI boards between, well, I'm not going to say the brands, but you know the ones. I think MSI are doing a really good thing at the moment. They're making a lot of boards, a lot of slight differences, which for some people makes it a little bit more complicated on choosing a board. But if you do want flexibility and there's a certain kind of aesthetic or a board that you've got your heart set on, it's great that MSI are kind of taking the Tomahawk range from the mag system or mag range and giving you a few options along the way. And no doubt as time goes on, there'll probably be even more. Hopefully they do a white version. I think that would be really nice. They don't have a white version as far as I'm aware. Maybe in the back connects possibly, but yeah, anyway, I'm rabbiting on now. I think this is a great board. It comes in at a better price than the Tomahawk Max because you do get slightly reduced features on there. But I think for most people, this is probably the board to go for your next AMD build. But what I think about it isn't particularly important. What you think about it is. So let us know in that comment section. Sound off. Have you bought one of these? Are you looking at buying one? Are you a little bit put off at the moment with RAM prices? I think that is going to be an ongoing thing for the next, well, hopefully not too long, but it seems like it might be in for the long haul. But anyway, let me know what you think about this one in the comments section. But I think that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.